We are going on a walk today. I think the goal is just 2 miles. That's a little shorter than what we normally do for our walks, but I've got a busy day ahead of me. It's not like I need to get everything done today, but I'd like to. We just went to the greenhouse, which I should film inside there sometime. It's so cute. I just didn't today because I was kind of in a hurry. We just went to our local greenhouse. I got some new pots because last week we went to the farmer's market and I got a couple of dill plants, a couple of basil plants, and my plants that I'm trying to propagate, I have 1 peperomia and 2 Chinese coin plants. They're doing pretty well, but I need to have pots for them at home, and I thought I already had pots big enough for the basil and the dill. Turns out I don't. So we just went to our local greenhouse. I got some pots for that, and I'm going to try and get those replanted today. If I don't get those replanted today, I'm going to do it tomorrow, but I'm going to try and get those replanted today. And then I have to pick 5 pounds of rhubarb. I'm going to make 5 rhubarb crisps. I'm going to make 1 for us, and then my husband works with 4 other farmers on a day-to-day basis, so I'm going to make a crisp for each of their families. I did it last year, and it was a really big hit, so I'm going to try and do it again this year. But before I make crisps for everyone, I do need to stop by the store and get some disposable pans. It's kind of gloomy out today, which I don't mind. I've got quite a few outside things to do today, so I'm kind of glad it's not too hot. And then on top of that, I've already gotten sunburnt this year from how many walks I've gone on and from weeding the garden and everything. So I don't mind that it's not too sunny out today. So those are my plans for today. I also am going to stop by my library on the way back from our walk. Yeah, I think so. And see if I can't find a good mood pick for a book to read, because I want a physical book to read and I don't have one right now, and I don't really want to read any of the books in my library. I'm going to go browse around the library too and see if I can't find a book that catches my eye. Potting table to do this at, but I don't really, so come with me while I replant my herbs. I do in each of these have a little piece of cardboard. That way the water can still run out, but the dirt is not going to fall out of that hole. So unfortunately this might not be quite 5 pounds after it's been chopped. I need a pound of rhubarb per crisp. Plan was to make 5, but I don't know. I might have to tap into my freezer stash because I picked a bunch of rhubarb the other day and I chopped some of it and I froze it so that I would have some rhubarb for when it's out of season. But it looks like some deer maybe got into my rhubarb patch and trampled a lot of it, so a lot of really good stalks were broken and starting to rot, unfortunately. So I also had to pick a bunch of stalks that are a bit bigger than what I would normally prefer, but we'll see what we're working with after we get this chopped and washed. Alright, I'm making dinner right now, making bagel sammies. I'm making my husband's at the moment because he's actually stopping home for a minute to do a couple of things, and so I'm gonna send him back to work with this because he's got like another last minute field he has to plant. He should be done after tonight though. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But wanted to give a little update. I finished The Second Death of Locke. It was okay. It was okay. It was nothing astounding. I enjoyed the first part of the book actually quite a lot, and I was really getting into it until we got about halfway through, and then like it started progressing really, really slowly. A lot of things seemed to be repeated like multiple times, and they didn't need to be repeated that many times. Like, I understand repeating things a couple of times for the sake of like making sure the reader understands, like, oh, this is important. I understand repetition is necessary sometimes in a book, but the amount of repetition in this book was too much. It was too much. And then it seemed to just drag on forever. Like, halfway through the book, it feels like you sort of reach a conclusion, and then everything goes south again. But then you get to the end of the book and you think things are resolved. No, you still got like, I don't know, 35 pages left. There you go, my husband's sandwich to go. This might be a tiny bit of a spoiler, but not really, because reading the book you know it's going to happen eventually. The main character reveals herself to the leader of one of the nations because he's her godfather, right? Her whole family is dead. The island that her nation is supposed to live on, whatever, disappeared. So finally, when she's ready to reveal herself as the long-lost daughter of this nation, there's no, like, question about it, and it's not, like, this big deal. You'd think it'd be, like, a big deal, or that he'd question it a little bit more, because, like, people in the past have claimed to be her, and she's like, surprise, it's me, I'm Locke, I'm the heir, I survived, not my brother. And there's no, like, is it really you from the Godfather? He's just like, yeah, okay. I believe it. The pacing at the beginning of the book, like the first 200 pages, was really good. You were, like, invested. There was a little hint of, like, I feel like there's a bigger picture here and I'm not getting it yet. And then you get to, like, the middle of the book when she starts to reveal herself as Locke, and you're like, right, now things are moving really quickly, and I feel like there's not proper debate over, is this actually her from the other rulers? It was just, I don't want to say unbelievable. This is like a romantasy book, and it was unbelievable and unrealistic for a fantasy book, in my opinion. I was really vibing with it in the beginning. I really enjoyed the first 200 pages, and after that, it fell off so heavy. I was really disappointed. I've been contemplating what book to pick up next, and one that has had my eye for a while, called The Starving Saints, caught my eye for a number of reasons, but the biggest reason was the cover. I really, really love the cover. It's kind of weird and creepy and interesting. I looked at it a couple of times. I read the premise of it. It kind of sounded interesting, and so finally I just decided to pick it up because I finished The Second Death of Locke and I wasn't sure what I was going to read after that. So I just decided to start reading The Starving Saints. I started it yesterday, and I am really enjoying it so far, actually. For the first, like, chapter or two, it took me a minute to get into the rhythm of it. So the premise of the book is that there is this keep or this township that is under siege from enemy attackers, and they have been under siege for months. So they are running out of food very, very quickly because they cannot get to any farms, they cannot get fresh supplies, they don't have any resources coming in or out. And so they're going to run out of food in the next couple of weeks. But the first character that it's following her name is Faucine, and she's kind of a mad woman that was kicked out of, like, the nunnery or the sisterhood for going against the faith. And then the next character that's following is Servoine, but she's the right hand of the king, and she is tasked with keeping an eye on Faucine, this mad woman. And the last character is a woman named Trilia. I am not entirely sure how she plays into the rest of everything, but she is the most on the outside of everything as far as, like, the main plot line goes, but she has a history with Servoine that we don't really know what it is yet. But there is an element of magic in this, is what I'm getting. I thought going into this that there wasn't an element of magic at all. but it does appear that it has an element of magic. Anyway, it's really, really interesting so far. When I first started reading it, since you're kind of thrust in, I thought, oh, this might be a little bit hard for me to get into right now, but I'm actually really enjoying it. And so, yeah, that is my update for now. I'm gonna go eat my sandwich, hang out with my babe, and I'll update you when something crazy happens. Alright, I've got my drinks here, my matcha, my water. I've got my beach bag on my shoulder. I am loading up the car and we are going to go have a beach day with my sisters. Tidied up my library after all of the stuff we've been doing the last month or so. It just got messy in here. It kind of became like the junk room of the house. Old things that my baby wasn't using anymore just got set in here. Papers, whatever. Anyway, it's clean now. But on top of that, I did start a nannying job a few days a week, so I have had a little bit less time to film. I am trying to be more on top of it though, because my last video just got way out of hand. I was filming for way too long and then editing took forever, and I just got it posted a couple of days ago. All that being said, I wanted to come on and just update really quick where I'm at. I did finish The Starving Saints. I got through it fairly quickly compared to some of the other books I've been reading recently. It's been taking me 2 or 3 weeks to finish a book lately, which is why the last 2 months I only finished 4 books each month. However, I feel like I'm starting to get back on a roll again. I finished The Starving Saints. It took me about a week. At the last point I updated you, I was only about 100 pages in and I was still kind of confused about what was going on exactly. It is one of those books that kind of takes a while to be like, okay, I'm starting to understand, because it's a story where you're just thrust in. It is a medieval story. It does have an element of magic to it. All 3 main characters in this book are women. And then on top of that, sometimes the book seems a bit vague, because the religion and the saints and everything that's going on, the magic, that is all a bit vague. And in my opinion, if anybody has read Bunny by Mona Awad, I read that last year, in my last trimester of pregnancy. I did not enjoy that book very much. I thought it was very confusing and the end did not wrap up very well. And then on top of that, there was a lot going on and it was a little bit too foggy, a little bit too vague in a lot of cases, and it seemed to be saying a lot without saying anything at all. In my opinion, The Starving Saints by Caitlin Starling accomplishes what Bunny was trying to do, because it was vague in some cases, but you could still understand what was going on and you could still follow the story very, very well. With Bunny, I felt like I reread so many different parts of that book and I still didn't understand what was going on, and I wasn't following the story very well, even though I had my full attention. And so then it ended up just being a very frustrating read. And after I read Bunny, I did do a deep dive into reading different reviews and breakdowns of the book, and all of the reviews and breakdowns of the book that I read that were rated 5 stars or 4 stars or 4.5, or very highly rated, they couldn't really explain why they enjoyed the book, and they couldn't really explain why it was a good book or what the plot was or what the message was of the book. And so for that reason I didn't really enjoy it. But with The Starving Saints, I did really enjoy it, and I thought it was a little bit clearer what the message was, more what the premise of the book was, what the plot was, who the characters were. It was a little bit easier to follow, and it actually seemed to be saying something instead of just leaving everything open for interpretation. I did rate The Starving Saints 3.75 stars. It wasn't quite a 4-star for me because, again, it is kind of confusing and vague and definitely is not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but I did really enjoy it. The next book that I'm going to be picking up, I actually have kind of had my eye on the series for a while, but I didn't want to pick it up because I have previously read a book of this author and I did not enjoy it. I actually DNF'd it, and I've only ever DNF'd like 2 books. But I've kind of been interested in the premise of the story for a while, and I've heard that this one is better than the other book that I read by the same author. So if you're wondering what that is, you probably might have already guessed it. That is the Villain series by V.E. Schwab. I'm planning to start Vicious here today because it is available on Kindle Unlimited. I also might go pick up a physical copy at my library if they have it, because I do enjoy the physical feel of a book, and sometimes if I'm just reading it on my phone, it makes my eyes hurt a lot more than if I'm reading an actual page. Now, the plot of the book, I'm still a little bit in the dark about. I do know that the premise of the book is that there are these extraordinaries, or like people with powers, and that's about as much as I know. I remember reading the summary a long time ago and finding it interesting, but I do want to start the series today. I read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab, and I did not enjoy it very much. I do like a book with a point and with a plot, and from my understanding of what I expected the book to be and what the book actually was were 2 different things, and it just ended up not being my cup of tea. But the Villain series is an urban fantasy, and that does sound like it could be kind of fun, because I do think that urban fantasy and some thrillers or horror books can have the same vibe, and that's kind of what I'm in the mood for right now. So I am going to be starting Villains by V.E. Schwab today. That's all my update for now. I will let you know my thoughts on the book when I'm probably about a third or halfway through. I just stopped at my library to check and see if they had 2 books that I want. I do have Vicious on my Kindle, and I've already started reading on my Kindle. I just wanted to have the physical version as an option, and that's not available at my library. And then I was also looking for Blood on Her Tongue by Johanna Van Veen, because I read My Darling Dreadful Thing earlier this year, I think. Yeah, earlier this year, and I enjoyed it, and I've heard that Blood on Her Tongue is better, but they don't have that either. They don't have any Johanna Van Veen here. So, that was a bust. We're going home with no books today. I just got to the lake. We are having another lake day. I braided my hair last night. That's why it's really frizzy already. I did finish Vicious by V.E. Schwab last night. And I think tonight, our last book for this vlog, I think I'm going to start 3 Days in June by Ann Tyler, because I have been planning to read that one in June, and it's currently almost the middle of June. So that's where we're at now. Alright, we are back in my kitchen. I thought I'd just chat with you guys and give you a bit of an update while my son is over here eating his breakfast. Yesterday morning we made ABC pancakes. That's apples, bananas, and carrots. So he's snacking on some of those that got warmed up a little bit today, and some eggs. Yesterday was kind of busy. I had nannying in the afternoon, and I was trying to get caught up on some cleaning and things around the house. My husband also requested that I make a cheesecake, so I made a cheesecake. It's all cracked. I'm sad. I forgot to put a water bath in the oven. When I make my cheesecakes, I normally put this directly on like a casserole dish that is full of water, because the steam helps prevent cracking. As you can see, that did not happen this time. I forgot the water bath completely, and I was really sad about it. So she's not cute, but she tastes good. All right. Additionally, every single time I make a cheesecake, I always have 2 egg whites that are left over, and that is perfect to make meringue drops. So these are literally 3 ingredients. They're a little bit gray. You're gonna have to forgive me for that. I used mulberry syrup that was homemade to flavor these, and I was hoping it would turn them kind of purple, because mulberry syrup is purple. It didn't. It turned them gray, but they taste good. These are literally only 3 ingredients. It's egg whites, sugar, and whatever flavoring. So most of the time you would use like almond extract or vanilla extract, but I used mulberry syrup. The most addicting thing about them, honestly, is not even the taste, it's the crunch. Listen. That's good stuff right there. I'm going to use some of the syrup to make mulberry whipped cream for the cheesecake and top it with fresh fruit. Got a whole container of mulberries too. Also, for the ABC pancakes, those were super simple as well. I can put the recipe in the description, but it's a shredded carrot, a mashed up banana, a 1/4 cup of applesauce, an egg, and then 1/3 of a cup of flour. I put a dash of cinnamon and a pinch of salt in there just to help with flavoring a little bit, but that was it. Mixed it up, fried it like a pancake. Anyway, those are my baking and cooking adventures lately, not anything too crazy. But what I really wanted to talk to you about is the books that I've been reading. I did finish Vicious. I absolutely loved it. It was a very good start to a series. I love that the main character is not a good guy. He's very morally gray, and I really appreciate that. And I also think that the pacing of the book was very good, where present day, the book only takes place for a few days, but you're also bouncing to the past a lot to get a lot of backstory and a lot of vital information for these different characters that you're learning about. And so I think the pacing was done really, really well in that aspect, and so it keeps you hooked. It keeps you coming back to it. It's not like, man, I'm getting really tired of the storyline, let's get back to the other one. It keeps like bopping around, not too much, but just enough to keep you like, I gotta keep reading so I can see what happens next. I gotta keep reading so I can see what happens next. So I really enjoyed that. I think I rated it 4 stars. I will definitely be continuing that series at some point. And then I think I mentioned, I might not have, but I think I mentioned that the next book I wanted to start reading is 3 Days in June by Anne Tyler. First of all, I know the words are backwards right now, but this cover is absolutely beautiful. It's gorgeous. Anne Tyler is one of my husband's favorite authors, and last year I read one of her books. It's called The Amateur Marriage. I did enjoy that one, but it wasn't a book that I would normally pick up. But my husband suggested that I pick up this one, 3 Days in June. He said he thinks I would really like it. It's also a short novella. It's like 165 pages. I'm about halfway through right now. I started reading it a couple of days ago, and I'm enjoying it so far. So that I don't botch telling you what this book is about, I will just read it to you. Gail Baines is having a bad day. To start, she loses her job, or quits, depending on whom you ask. Tomorrow, her daughter, Debbie, is getting married, and she hasn't even been invited to the bridal spa day. Then Gail's ex-husband, Max, arrives unannounced on her doorstep. He has no place to stay, no suit for the wedding. Instead, he has a cat. Never mind that the groom is deathly allergic. But the true crisis lands when Debbie shares with her parents a secret that she has just learned about her own relationship. It will not only throw the wedding into question, but also stir up Gail and Max's past. Told with deep sensitivity and a tart sense of humor, 3 Days in June is a triumphant novel full of the joys and heartbreaks of love and marriage. But I'm enjoying it so far. I'm about halfway through, and it does only take place over the course of 3 days, which is 1, why the book is a shorter book, and 2, why it's called 3 Days in June. I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm really enjoying the different things that we're learning about each character and the insights that you're getting on the characters without it being blatantly obvious. I think that's one thing that I crave sometimes in a book that I'm reading, because nowadays when somebody is writing a book, rather than showing you how a character is feeling or showing you what their flaws are or leaving something up to interpretation, they just tell you everything. They explain everything, and it's almost an assumption that the reader is not smart enough to glean these things by themselves. So I do appreciate a book that makes you think, that makes you ponder on, why would this character do this, or why do you think this character acts this way, or whatever. Because it gives you more food for thought than just telling you everything. But anyway, that is my update for now. This is probably going to end up being the last book of this vlog, but I will update you when I have finished reading. Time for a tiny bit of an update. I haven't finished 3 Days in June yet. I actually didn't really read it at all yesterday. I started reading Flawless, I think it is, by Elsie Silver. Because I know a few people who have recently read that book and really enjoyed it, and so I decided to give Elsie Silver another go, and I'm already 200 pages in. I fear I'm actually really enjoying this one. Anyway, So I'm like already almost halfway through Flawless. I started reading it yesterday. So also it's like a 400 and something page book. Why is it so long? I thought that it was gonna be like 300 pages at most. Pebbles wants to say hi. This is my kitty cat. So today I'm about to eat lunch. The wee baby is taking a nap, so I'm gonna try and savor that time while I can, eat lunch, read a little bit. Hopefully I will finish 3 Days in June today because I have less than 100 pages left, and so that should be a really quick finish. But I have some kids that I nanny a few days a week, and I've got to go watch them this afternoon for a few hours, so gonna do that. I do have to stop at the post office today before I go watch the kids. But then after that, my sister-in-law is gonna come with me and we're gonna go thrifting. I'm looking for just 1 or 2 pairs of bottoms that I can wear throughout the summer, whether that's like a breezy pair of pants or a pair of shorts or a cute little skirt or something. Even a sundress I'd be okay with, but I just don't have a lot of summer clothes that fit me well at the moment because I'm still getting back to my normal size after having a baby, and that's slow going. I'm not putting a bunch of pressure on it, but until I reach that point where I fit into some of my old clothes again that are more comfortable for the summer, I do want just a few more options so that I'm not like overheating all summer because the only thing I have that fits is jeans. So that is the plan for today. I'm gonna go eat my lunch now. Close out the video. I did finish my book. First, went thrifting yesterday. I was looking for some shorts and I did find what I was looking for. I found a cute pair of ripped jeans. We just had a park day with my sisters and I got my baby laid down, so he's taking a nap right now. Last little update also before I get into my book review. I got my nails done and I think they're super cute and they're adorable. I did finish 3 Days in June by Anne Tyler. I rated it 4.5 stars. I just absolutely loved this book so much. First of all, the cover, sorry it's backwards right now, but the cover is absolutely adorable. I love it. It's adorable. It's not a romance book. I think Fable labeled it a romance book when I logged it as finished. It's not a romance book per se. It's more of a character study and like looking at the different dynamics between like a broken family and things like that. And it was really, really interesting. And I love the way that we like learn the backstory, and I love the way that it's broken up. And it honestly, as you're reading it, it feels like you are talking to somebody reminiscing. It feels like I'm talking to a 60-year-old woman who's looking back on her life and like the lessons that she's learned and the different ways that she's learned them and like reflecting and growing. And I just absolutely loved it. It was so well written. I really do understand why Anne Tyler is one of my husband's favorite authors. But I absolutely loved the book. I would 100% recommend you read it. But that is all for this video. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, interact if you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.